Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today I thought I'd do a quick rundown build overview of my current racing setup. I've been using this setup since the beginning of 2021 and it's served me very well so far, so let's get into it. First, I'll do an overview of the parts that I'll be using in this build. For the frame, I'll be using the 533 Switchback Pro. This is the lite version. The lite arms are smaller but make the quad feel more maneuverable, as well as way more durable than any of the other arm configurations. For ESC, I'll be using the hobbywing 40 amp 4-in-1. I really like this ESC, it has a great power, I highly recommend this one. For motors, I will be using the 533 2207 heads up motors. They have a 1960 kV. They're very powerful and they have plenty of torque. I highly recommend these motors. They're really great. For the camera, I'm using the RunCam Racer Nano 2. It has a really crisp picture and a pretty low latency of, I believe, 4 milliseconds. Really great camera, highly recommend it. For VTX, I'm using the HGLRC Zeus Nano. This has an output power of up to 350 milliwatts. It's pretty compact. It's not as small as some of the other VTXs out there. It's actually pretty big, but I've had a lot of luck with these. I really like them. For flight controller, I'm using the HGLRC Zeus F722. This is a 20x20 flight controller, as is the frame I'm using. It has 20x20 mounting. It's a nice red color. I really enjoy this flight controller. It's super easy to set up and solder onto with the pads being so big. I really recommend this flight controller. It's just amazing. And lastly, for receiver, I'm using the TBS Tracer system. This has a latency of, I believe, 2.5 milliseconds or 3 milliseconds. It's a really fast system and the receivers are super tiny. It's really easy to fit these inside the quad and super easy to set up. Now it's time to start the actual assembly of the quad. The first step would be to assemble the frame. So let me start that right now. Now that I have all the parts for the frame laid out, the next step would be to assemble the pod, which is the mid plate, the top plate, and the anti-wiggle plate standoffs. Now that the pod is assembled, it looks like this with stack screws here and standoffs. When the build is done, the top plate will go on top just like this. But right now it's time to install the arms. Let's make room for that. There we go. Now the arms are all secured, as well as the receiver antennas right here. They're held on by the compression screws. They just compress all the carbon fiber and make the frame more stiff. Now the next step is to install each motor one by one. This is honestly my least favorite part of all builds because it just takes so long. Let me speed this up. Now that the motors are installed and the motor wires are taped down to the arms, so the next step would be to install the ESC. Let me just get it out. Put this down in right there. There we go. Now comes to my favorite part, which would be installing the motor wires onto the ESC. Now this is what I like my solder joints to look like. I'll go ahead and do all the other three off camera so that I don't have to make you watch it. Now that all the wires are soldered on, it is time to install the flight controller. There we go. Now it's time to solder up the wires for the camera, receiver, and VTX, and then I'm pretty much done. Okay, that's the build done. It looks so good, I almost don't want to fly it, but I'm gonna fly it because that's the whole point of building a drone. Man, I forgot how fun building quads were. Yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.